Everybody, I think we're live now. It appears that way. To the first episode of New Year 2025 WrestleZone Unfiltered back in the house. Got the crew all here. Happy New Year to both of you. There's the boss.
Happy New Year, you two.
Connor, did you have a good New Year and all that
Happy
good
New Year,
stuff?
you guys well.
You have a good New Year?
What was that? Yeah. I had a good New Year. Hopefully, everyone watching and you guys had a good New Year's and Christmas as well.
Christmas was good. I barely made it to. I think I made it to like 12:30. Watched the ball drop, and I'd seen enough of Ryan Seacrest on Wheel of Fortune the last couple of weeks, so it was a it was a short night. That's all right though. I wasn't going to. I don't go out on amateur nights, so too old for that anymore. And also joining us, our resident diva, and also you might not know this, she is the newly elected for 2025 president of the Elite and the Young Bucks fan club, Miss Danny.
Oh, I'm good. New Year's was good. My sister celebrated her 50th birthday. She still has the biggest mouth, but we'll keep her for a bit. Went to Chicago, was supposed to leave on the 31st. I was in bed by probably like maybe 9:30, 10 on New Year's Eve. Had a couple vodka crayons that were good. We almost got into a bar fight. It was my sister's fault, not that sister, the older sister, but it was good. And found out I'm going to be an auntie in June again because my sister's sister-in-law is having baby number 2.
Well, congratulations! And now that you bring that up, I the last time we were on air, my lips were supposed to be sealed, but yes, my daughter and her husband are expecting their first baby too. So we have we got baby Miller coming in July of 2025. So I got all kinds of good stuff happening this year. Yeah, that was I was sworn to secrecy until she could tell everybody.
So exciting.
But, we hadn't been here in a couple of weeks for all the holidays. We'd like to welcome you back. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. All kinds of stuff to talk about. And I'm going to thank you, Barry. I appreciate that. And I'm going to preface this with something before we even get started. Everybody always, y'all are so nasty to AEW. Look, man, before we even go any further, I get it. All right. I grew up on the NWA, Dusty Rhodes, Ric Flair, Harley Race, Terry Funk, Blackjack Mulligan, all those guys beating the ever-loving dog crap out of each other, blood every week. And when I only tuned into the WWF because of Roddy Piper. Roddy Piper was my absolute favorite. He still is. And the WWF back then was a show. It is still a show. You get some good matches mixed in. They had a great match, I thought, for the main event on Netflix with CM Punk and Seth Rollins. There's a story there that I do not think is over with. We'll get to that in a little bit. And it's okay to like what you like. And we all have our own opinions on stuff. So, let's just have a good time. You got your opinion. We've got ours, and we'll go from there. And, all kinds of stuff happened. We had the return of Kenny Omega at Wrestle Dynasty. Whether you're an Omega fan or not, I'm like this with all the boys and girls. When they get hurt, they're out injured, whether it's because of a match or an illness or whatever. Always glad to see them come back. And, if AEW, needed anything right now, I hope Kenny can come back and be that driving force. I wasn't real thrilled with the story they did with him last night. I was kind of hoping to go more towards another distance with that, but we'll start him off slow, I guess, and let him come back with Don Callis. It makes sense with him and Ospreay. But Connor, what'd you think? Everything going on? What do you want to start with, man? You the boss. You tell me which way you want to go with this.
So everyone's talking about the Netflix debut on for Monday Night Raw on Netflix. For me, the match of the night was Punk and Rollins. That was like the best storyline. Like the Roman and Solo was good, but it's basically the same stuff now with Bloodline. Finally, that story is done. But for me, I really like CM Punk wearing the Ring of Honor jacket that he wore, in the same jacket that he beat up Jack Perry with in AEW. If anyone remembers All In, he wore the XXX jacket that he wore in Ring of Honor, and he wore it All In. So what did you guys think about Rollins and Punk?
It was a hell of a match. I mean, to start off the year that way, and like I said, there's a story there, and I don't think they're done. And I doubt we will get it, but I kind of got a little excited because you knew Becky was going to re-sign, which she has. And the week before that hell of a promo they both cut on each other out there. Just and from what I've read, it was unscripted. They let them go, and do their own thing. But with the wives getting brought into it, I mean, wouldn't that be one hell of a way to bring AJ Lee back with a mixed tag? Normally nobody cares about a mixed tag, but I think if you could get AJ Lee and CM Punk against Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, I think you might get some people interested to watch that one.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. And I just remember AJ Lee being this microscopic little girl who used to skip to the ring. I'd love to see her back. I think that would be a great way to introduce them. And it would be an interesting, just epic promo battle yet again to see Becky go after AJ Lee.
Yeah, the only CM Punk shirt that I have is, it came from AJ Lee because, when she was doing her gimmick, and she pulled it off well of being a psychopath and jumping up and kissing everybody, kissing Kane, and and then CM Punk came along, and that's when he started wearing the shirt that said "I dig crazy chicks," and of course I was a DJ in a strip club, so I thought it kind of went hand in hand, and that was the one that I bought and wore it to work on more than one occasion.
Yeah, that would probably be the biggest mixed tag match in a while. John Cena and Nikki Bella, that was something. That's actually WWE's most viewed YouTube video of all time, of John Cena proposing to Nikki Bella. Looking at how that turned out, not so great.
I called it.
When looking back on that, that was it was a moment that John Cena probably wishes he never probably would have done. Or I don't know, maybe he doesn't regret it. But I would love to see that. Punk and AJ Lee versus Rollins and Becky. Becky's supposed to be coming back pretty soon. She's re-signed. So that would be a good part. And then even the Shantz right here. Punk's promo after the match was good. I agree. Punk had a little promo after the match, basically bringing back the straight edge and I'm better than you. He's the one that came up with that. And MJF kind of just copied it and then said, I'm better than you and you know it. Which MJF referenced that in their feud with each other in AEW. It's in Jacksonville, and MJF had bloodied up Punk, and he basically had quoted the line that Punk did in Ring of Honor about the devil. So I like how he tied his Ring of Honor stuff in with his WWE stuff. It was a good combination of going back to his roots of when he started to wrestle, and then when he first got to WWE being straight edge and stuff. But he's always been straight edge. That's something that he's always done in his career. But I really like this match, and I don't think it's done either. I think at the Royal Rumble, it's going to be Punk and Cena at the end, and Rollins is probably going to cost Punk. Elimination Chamber, Rollins wins. WrestleMania, final match. That could be the way they go, or maybe not. There was talks of Punk and Roman.
I saw that somewhere that you could tie that in with Paul Heyman if you wanted to, depending on what this favor is that he owes Punk. But they say imitation's the greatest form of flattery, and I'll tell you, MJF's had some good promos, but I think my favorite one that he ever did was when he came out there and basically repeated Adam Cole's promo from NXT verbatim back to him, just changing it to him. And I sat there when he started that, I'm like, no, he's not. And I just sit there and giggled and listened to him, and and MJF, he's MJF on the microphone. And that was probably my favorite promo he did was, just basically repeating Adam Cole.
The one that he just buried was Brian Pillman. I mean, he just buried.
That was cringy. That was cringy.
he buried Brian Pillman. Like that was, and Brian Pillman, he's better now than he was in AEW, but I don't think someone like him could ever go toe to toe with MJF on the mic. And they basically see him out there for failure, I thought.
Well, I mean, if you go back into history with his dad was not great on the microphone, and it took him a while. Yeah. And once he got comfortable in that loose cannon gimmick, he got a lot better. But as just flying Brian, even at the Hollywood Blondes, he had some good one-liners, but Austin did most of the talking with the Hollywood Blondes. So it took his dad a while to get comfortable on the microphone too. So maybe he'll get there, maybe he won't. But again, his dad, it took Senior a little while to get going there.
Yeah, I know he. It took me a little bit. I would like to see Lexus King, Brian Pillman Jr. I would like to see him maybe go towards a maybe loose cannon type character if he can pull that off. But I like what he's doing now.
If you watch, I think that's honestly where it's headed because he's trying to be, I want to prove myself. I want to do this. I want to do that. I'm not my father. Don't compare me to my father. And then, if you watch NXT Tuesday night, Charlie Dempsey goes to do the Elite Frog, but his crotch runs square into Pillman's head, and and Pillman just kind of looked and he picked him up, gave him his finish, got the 1, 2, 3. So I think he might be headed in that direction. You never know.
Yeah, and William Regal's been involved in that a little bit too. He wasn't involved on Tuesday, this last Tuesday, but I've liked how they've incorporated him a little bit. If anyone doesn't know, William Regal's son is Charlie Dempsey, whatever his last name is. That's his son. That's his real life son. That's the reason he went back to WWE. But he also took on another role. He's like the WWE Global Talent Scout or something. He's always on Gorilla with Triple H. But yeah, there was a lot of other good moments from the show. They had a lot of celebrities. What was the guy from Home Alone?
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, he was on the show. He got the biggest pop out of the celebrities, I thought. But yeah, I did like John Cena. Looks like he's in the Royal Rumble now. What did you guys think about what The Rock did? Basically, I kind of feel this was his way of telling everybody that he's not doing WrestleMania. To basically, the last time we saw him was Raw. Well, technically it was Bad Blood, but on the mic, Raw after Mania, and he told Cody, "The next time I see you, I'm coming after your title." And then he comes back and doesn't even do any of the things he said. Yeah. And now he's friends with Cody all of a sudden. So what did you guys think about that?
Well, he came out on NXT and basically told everybody to enjoy the ride he was going to take them on.
Yeah.
And stop bitching about what he was doing. So, from what I'd read, his schedule was not going to allow him to be at WrestleMania. But, that might be a work. It might be true. His schedule could change. With The Rock, I mean, I kind of agree with him. You're not going to get him all the time. Yeah. And in ring, Rock's never been, he's never been Shawn Michaels or Kenny Omega or, whoever you want to compare him to. He's not that guy. He's the entertainer. I mean, he can give you a good match, especially if he's got the right opponent. If he's got somebody in there that can work and carry him through some of the spots. The Rock will, even at his age, he'll still give you a good entertaining match, but he's not going to be the guy out there, that's wrestling a catch-as-catch-can style match. He's there for the entertainment. So, whether you like him or not, I kind of agree with what he said. When he's there, just enjoy it.
Yeah. I felt, though, honestly, that the entrance was a bit much. Like, it was long, and I sat there and timed it, and I think I timed it at like 15 minutes. We were both looking at each other like, okay. The promo was fun. It was classic Rock, yet it was also very confusing because, again, Connor, you said that when he said to Cody, "Next time I see you, I'm coming after your title," then all of a sudden now he's buds with Cody. So it was kind of confusing as to what they did, but it was fun to see him, on Raw. The moment that cracked me up when a certain brother, if you would, from Venice Beach, California, with big pythons got booed out of the arena. Like, he was like the total surprise. And
I'm glad you brought that up because I'm
out of the arena. I was like, whoa.
I laughed. I'm right there with you. I laughed, but
Yeah.
it's like, for as much credit that I'll give Triple H and the management there that's been doing a phenomenal job, reinventing the product almost to a point, and people brought this up. So I'm going to give you the difference between Hogan and The Undertaker supporting Trump. The Undertaker's support of Donald Trump was very low key. It was on his podcast. You didn't see him on a commercial. You didn't see him at rallies. Hogan was standing right there by Kid Rock, at the rallies, Trump brother, he's going to, he was out there for the limelight for everybody to see. And everybody knows California is a very liberal state. So, I wasn't surprised. It was kind of funny to me, but, from what I understand, he signed some kind of new deal with him and he'll be back. So I'll be interested to see what kind of reaction he gets, elsewhere other than, if you bring him out in California and New York, which are the two most liberal states in the union, then I can see what, he's going to get that. So I'll be interested to see what kind of reaction he gets either in a red state or about a 50-50 state.
Yeah. And I think the difference between him and The Undertaker, like, The Undertaker has a certain class about him, his interviews. And when he, talks about wrestling, where Hogan, I feel like, does things to be noticed and wants to be noticed. And, you never hear of like The Undertaker making these comments or doing this, but then look at all the stuff that Hogan's done. Look at the backstage politics that Hogan has, displayed, in, WWE, there was WCW and even TNA. But I mean, just look at the two of them. And, when Taker came out, Biker Taker, I was pumped because that was my favorite version of him. And it was great to see him. But then when Hogan came out, it was just like, oh, he's really here. Oh, okay. And it was just like a meh moment that I feel like nobody really cared about. But then other people are like, oh, Hulk Hogan's here. Well, a lot of this generation doesn't know Hogan because their Hogan is Cena, whereas Jason, our Hogan was Hogan.
No, he was never my Hogan.
But I mean, like, he was like the top face that all the kids liked back in the day.
Yeah, I guess I was always the strange kid. And that was Roddy Piper's fault.
Okay.
So, meeting Roddy Piper at 8 years old was probably the worst thing for me in wrestling and the way I started liking people. So, no, I mean, it was, I laughed and I kind of felt bad for him in a way. But like I said, he was in California and, maybe he'll get the same reaction elsewhere. But, they might not bring him back out after that for a while. You never know. But I'll be interested to see if he gets the same reaction, in a different place.
Yeah, Nikki Johnson. I did see this. It was reported by somebody that they were open to him coming back on screen as a heel, which I don't know how.
Yucks.
Who could he manage to help? Like, I don't know. I don't want to see him wrestle. All right, those days are long gone. Hollywood Hogan, Hulkamania is gone.
It's
Like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, he said that's why he put off that hip surgery so long because he knew he'd never be able to drop the leg again. So I don't think we have to worry about him ever stepping back foot in the squared circle for a match. I mean, you might see him help somebody, beat somebody down, but I mean, like you, I don't even know who you would pair him with these days. So I mean, I know they signed a partnership with that Real American Beer he's doing, and if you paid attention to the UFC ring mat they had going on with all those partners on the ring mat. That was on there. So, we'll see. We'll see where it goes.
It would be interesting let us know in the comments, you guys, everyone watching, if Hulk Hogan was to come back as a manager role or something as a heel, who would you like to see him with? The only person I could see is Logan Paul. Paul
you know who I can see him with?
Who's that?
Different company, but the Outrunners, brother.
Yeah, I could see it. Their characters are a little bit similar in a way. I don't know. We'll see. Personally, like he'll always be associated with WWE, whether it's action figures, video games, merchandising, documentaries. He'll always be associated. But it'll be interesting to see if they ever bring him back on TV or if they let it cool. I don't think it's ever going to cool off, especially if you bring him back in a liberal state. Maybe you can get away with it in Florida, maybe not.
Florida, Texas, Alabama, anywhere in the South, you could probably get away with it.
See, to me, I like Hulk Hogan. I mean, he's not one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. Like, even growing up, he never was one of my favorites. I liked Hogan, but he was just never, like, my favorite. Like, my favorite was, like, Jeff Hardy or John Cena or I like Randy Savage better than Hogan.
Well, you bring up Hogan and Randy Savage. If you go back, and I mean, I'll give Hogan his due. Everybody's like, was it Hogan? Was it Vince McMahon? It was a combination of both. It was Vince's vision, and Hogan was the right guy at the right time, the right size, the right amount of charisma. And if you go like WrestleMania 3, was that Hogan Andre match great? No, it wasn't. But Savage and Steamboat stole the show, but Hogan and Andre put those asses in the seats. So you got to give him credit where credit's due. It's just like when he went against The Rock at WrestleMania, 18, 17, whichever one it was, and he said, it's one thing. Normally, if he says something 9 times out of 10, he's got a pretty good idea what he's talking about the NWO version of Hogan, and they had to switch it up in the ring because The Rock was getting booed out of the building. And, and Hogan was getting cheered. But again, did they have like a Bryan Danielson type match? No, they didn't. It was a Hogan Andre type match, but it was an iconic match for those two going at it. You know, those two generational talents going at it, and it did what it was supposed to do.
Yeah. Besides that, let's see. So we talked about Roman, CM Punk. We talked about Hogan.
I'll tell you what, the Roman solo match talk about. I was really honestly, because Roman didn't need to win that match. Roman was still going to be Roman, and with the bloodline rules or whatever the hell they called it, I expected the interference, but what I really expected was the Drew McIntyre, run in to cost Roman the match, because that would keep Solo, in his power, in position of power, not make him look weak, and it would give Roman a different direction to go with the Roman Drew McIntyre feud, because Drew's been attacking everybody, and that's associated with Roman. So, between that and a possible Paul Heyman turn, because if you've been paying attention, every time Paul's been close to Solo, they've been basically wearing the same damn suit. So there was a lot, so it was Roman. And I said before the match, if Roman wins, it's Roman. I won't be surprised. But to me, Solo should have won that match, not because he's better than Roman, but like I said, Roman will still be Roman. And now it's like, all right, Solo lost. Now what the hell do you do with him? So I guess
it's going to be interesting what they do with him. Who knows? This might lead up to an eventual turn with Jacob Fatu WrestleMania match. I
love you, Solo.
See, he loves Solo, so it's going to be hard to do that. That's what Big E said. Like, he loves Solo so much, can he really turn on him? Because it's like they were kind of hinting on that on the post show. Like, is someone going to take advantage of the weakness of Solo? That, like, he lost against Roman, so why should any of them acknowledge him? Especially Jacob Fatu, which they've kind of teased at a little bit with Cody Rhodes at one time. He wanted to give Jacob Fatu the title shot. And they kind of teased it, him taking the opportunities for himself, but obviously that didn't happen, and Solo took it. So.
Yeah, well, he had also said that if Roman won, he would acknowledge him. So, and he did not do that Monday night. So I don't know if that's something they'll do Friday night or what, but if he actually does that on television, it'll go somewhere. Where, they still got Hikuleo they've signed already, and Zilla Fatu is still out there. There's some elements they have not added in yet, and so again, they've got 40 million different directions to take it. So
I felt like the Roman match, though, it was like there was a lot of interference, because I think the first one you had, if I remember right, was one of the Usos and Sammy. And then you had Drew come in, and then you had KO come in. And there was just a lot of interference. And I felt like I don't know, that they could have had it go to the way where Roman didn't win, but Solo didn't win, and set up another rematch. But then at that point, would you consider the Bloodline storyline being dragged on too long with another match for the Ulafala?
It depends on how they did it. And just, like I said, I kept expecting Drew, and we got Kevin. He was unexpected to me, but I think that was that was simply done to have Cody be able to run in on the Netflix, debut or whatever.
Right.
I think that's all that was done for. But, I've said this before, there's so many of those family members that this is, if it's done right, this is a story that can just keep giving for years to come. So, again, we'll see what happens Friday night.
Yeah, they got Hikuleo, Zilla Fatu. Jacob Fatu has a brother named Journey Fatu. He wrestles. They've got Lance in Hawaii. He's signed. They got the Tonga twins. They're two females. They're also the daughters of Haku. They're the Tonga twins. But I would imagine they're going to start some of these out in NXT. They did say Hikuleo is going to be starting out in NXT, and so is Lance in Hawaii. So it's going to be interesting to see how they all play into this. But the Bloodline feud can really go on forever, because there's more and more family members. Like, they got so many members, that family. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the Usos' sons start wrestling eventually.
It's like babies, kids. They don't die; they multiply.
Right.
Yeah. going from AEW, going from WWE AEW. What did you guys think of? What was the last pay per view?
World's End.
World's End. That was it. Yeah.
Go ahead, Danny. I'm gonna try to rethink my thoughts and be as positive as I can be.
Well, it was a pay-per-view. It was there. That's about it. I did watch for the first time. I actually broke my tradition and watched Dynamite actually last Wednesday with the debut on Max. So, and normally, like in college, I would always like record everything and then watch it the next day, but I actually watched it. It was either, I think it was probably my sister's TV, but it was I felt like there was a lot of energy for that show. However, yet again, we go with this pointless booking to where, again, and I've said it not to knock Tony Khan, but it's, drawing names out of a hat. And speaking of people, if anybody sees this gorgeous man, please release him from an AEW contract and send him to WWE. And yeah, again, it's just with AEW, I mean, the pay-per-view, again, it was there. It existed. Omega's back. So great to see him. But anything else with it, it's like, when are we going to get the booking that's going to have logical sense? When are we going to get storylines where we can, really get into a character? Because the stop-start booking for people, again, Wardlow's one of them, it doesn't really help the product. He needs eyes on the product. He needs a booker.
All right.
Okay, Jason, go ahead with your comments.
First off, the main event was the worst match of the night. Nobody gave two shits about that main event. The crowd was dead. Edge come back. I can't cope with that.
No pun intended.
No, God, that is awful. It's like, and that's part of the stuff that I have issues with Tony Khan. Hey, I'm just gonna shorten my name and go by Cope. Okay, Adam, do what you want, man. Come on, bro. Be a boss. I'm gonna pull my Vince Russo out, bro. Be a boss. But if you go down and you can look at the card if you watch the pay-per-view, every damn heel except for the first match won, and the first match of the night was the best match on the card, which was Fletcher and Ospreay. Even though I was kind of, I was not surprised Ospreay won, but the fact that he won with a Styles Clash, that caught me off guard.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get, Ricochet's coming across as a heel, but you got him and Okada, so that you could go 50-50 with that.
Mm-hmm.
But then you got Excalibur screaming in the damn microphone. God, I'd like to strangle him with that damn mask.
Again, I held up a sign that said, do us all a favor, mute Excalibur's mic. Justin Roberts had to walk. He was laughing so hard, he actually had to walk away from me.
But, if you go through, like I'll use Ospreay as an example. There's two matches since he's been there that I agree he should have lost. And it was the same way I felt about Roxanne beating Julia on her first match.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was, she had help from Cora Jade, Julia should not have won the first match because then that makes Roxanne look weak. You brought somebody brand new into the company. I go back with Ospreay and Swerve. I think that was the exact right decision. You don't walk somebody in the door and put the title on them. So I thought that was a good move for Ospreay to put Swerve over. And then I thought he should have lost that first match to Kyle Fletcher because, again, if Fletcher lost that match, where does he go from there? You've just kind of buried him.
Mm-hmm.
So, but everything else, Ospreay is the hottest thing you've got. You listen to the pops of people coming out. And then you've got him losing to Okada. And I know Okada had, 5, 8, 96-star matches in Japan. I know he's beat up from all those death matches and stuff he did over there. And that's not a knock on him. But you've got guys out there doing the stuff that Ospreay does, that Fletcher does. Some of the stuff they put people through and they're kicking out, left and right and jumping up and no selling. And if that, if you like that, that's you. I don't. But then you got Okada who beats people with the shittiest short arm clothesline that I've ever seen in my life. And Jake Roberts used that short arm clothesline to set up for the fucking DDT. And then you want to have Excalibur screaming, that Okada has now won more tournaments. You know, he's the record holder for tournaments, you know, overtaking Chono, which Chono would have tied that little son of a bitch up in 400 different knots. But you know, this is, you know, okay, we know about the tournaments. That's great. And, you know, the people that listen probably know about the tournaments. The majority of your audience does not know about the tournaments. And you got this stupid ass in a sock screaming about Okada being the tournament. Nobody gives a shit, bro. Bro, nobody cares. And you got 10 people in the audience probably whacking off and playing with themselves because Okada won the match. And the rest of the damn audience is just like, huh? He beat Ospreay with a clothesline. And then you got Ospreay on his knees looking like he's about to give him a fucking blowjob. You know. And I'm just like, what in the fuck are we doing? And then you go back and I'll compare this to Drew McIntyre and Jey Uso. Then you got Mercedes Moné, who is the worst amount of fucking money he has spent. She is horrible. She's got creative control and taken every flipping title she can possibly get. And, you know, she uses a babyface move to beat Chris Statlander. She rolls her up. Drew McIntyre lost to Jey Uso after whooping the shit out of him the entire match. And Jey ducked and was able to get a quick roll up backslide on him for a 1-2-3 and roll out and sell like he just got lucky. And you got this little 95-pound, 4'2" bald bitch rolling up Chris with a babyface move, and she's supposed to be a heel. That whole entire pay-per-view, except for the first match, I'm just sitting there going, what in the fuck are we doing? But and I paid for this. I paid to watch it because I want to watch it and hope that we do better. And then you want to fast forward to Dynamite last night. And this is where people really, you can tell me I'm wrong all you want. All you got to do is watch the damn show. Besides Kenny Omega coming out last night, the biggest pop of the night was Jeff Jarrett. Now, I know he's in Tennessee, but if you want to see how a professional is supposed to do it, Jarrett got that pop. But when he started talking, those people quieted down and they listened because they wanted to hear what he had to say. Now, if you want to see the difference, fast forward to the end when Cope comes out. And I was an Edge fan. I like Edge. But, you know, I don't know if it's Tony telling him what to do or if it's his idea what to do. The crowd was just dead. They did not care what he had to say. They're just sitting there like, and, you know, and then he's like, you made one fatal mistake. You know, it's like you're about to talk about his kid or something. And you messed with FTR. You don't know how close we are. You're doing a circle jerk in the back, bro. One of them give a better hand job than the other. Yes, I'm doing my best Vince Russo tonight. So I'm going to be annoying as fuck. But I'm just sitting there watching all this shit going, and it pissed me off so bad that I went back because everything's on Max now. And I watched the first episode of Dynamite. And if you want to see why people complain to what we're watching now versus what we used to see, it comes on. It's a sold out building. You've got Jim Ross coming in. Yes, Excalibur was there, but he's not screaming. He's trying to actually give a little insight.
Was his mic muted?
No, it was not muted, but Jim Ross was in the middle. He was the main commentator. And, you know, and then you see the first match was Cody versus Sammy Guevara. Now, everybody now that watches AEW knows who Sammy Guevara is. First episode, not so much. But they did a package and they did a really great job, actually, of introducing Sammy Guevara to the audience before his entrance. Then he came out there and Cody really made him look good. He went to do a shooting star press. Cody put his knees up, grabbed him by the neck, grabbed his leg, rolled him up 1, 2, 3. He did not make Sammy look bad. It was a good back and forth match. I know Cody wasn't, you know, what he's been put up to now, but you know, he was one of the faces of AEW starting. I mean, it was a good show. It was a sold out building. And if they want to know why they're not selling out buildings anymore and why people are so critical of them, all you got to do is go back and watch your first show and compare it to what you're doing now. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I agree with everything you said. To me, like watching AEW now, to see what we used to get from like 2019 to 2022, it's sad to see where it's at now. It's really sad. When you like majority of the show last night, people were dead. Like what they reacted to was the MJF and Jeff Jarrett segment, and that was it, really. Like the whole entire crowd was silent. Like,
well, you go back to the paper, you talk about MJF. I mean, first off, you listen, MJF doesn't get half the pop he used to get, heel or babyface.
No.
His music hits that used to, whether they hated him or loved him, the crowd would explode. But then you go to the pay-per-view, and MJF beats Adam Cole, which he should have. But I will give Adam Cole this. He looks like he's laid off the spray tan the last couple of times he's been on TV. So he didn't look like Garfield so much. But then you got, the Undisputed Kingdom or whatever the hell they are now. They're all buddy again, and they beat up MJF and roll off into the sunset. Now, is MJF going to start another faction, or are we going to continue to get this Adam Cole MJF dumb shit, or are we finally done with it? It's like what are we doing? I mean, maybe they'll bring your boy back. Maybe Wardlow comes back and helps out MJF because. I don't know how long of a contract he signed. I'd like to know actually, because I just like to know when we're going to see him somewhere else, or if we're actually going to see him back on TV.
Yeah, he's going to be at an independent show in April this year. We were on Mania season. He might be in Las Vegas, but he's going to be wrestling, so he's not injured. That I don't know who keeps coming up with that excuse.
Yeah, I know Matt Taven. I know there was a report going around, and then Matt Taven actually posted on Twitter. I went after Matt Taven and I said, look, this is not true. Are you lying because your boss is paying you extra? And I tweeted Tony Khan, and I tagged Tony Khan in the same tweet. I go, when are you going to stop lying? When are you going to get to your senses and book him? He could have been one of the next big thing. In fact, my screensaver, my nephew's partner asked me if that was Batista. I was like, no, it's Wardlow. So, and again, this is a guy that deserves to be booked. But again, look what we're seeing. We're seeing, guys that are like 5'10", 180 pounds. We're seeing Darby. We're seeing, Ospreay. We're seeing Mox. I mean, this tournament that they had last night that Hobbs ended up winning, not to give spoilers away, but where has Hobbs been in the last 6 weeks? All of a sudden, he just pops up out of nowhere as a filler for the tournament, wins, and next week gets to face Mox. I mean, where's the buildup?
And the only thing that he's done was he's had a few squash matches on Dynamite, get some jobbers.
I'll tell you though, I don't know if it was Collision or Dynamite, but when he come out and he had those that squash match with the two guys in the ring, I was like, well, there's a throwback for you. This brings back some memories. But I was hoping when he came back, it's still a chance for it. But I think Hobbs would do well with the Hurt Syndicate. I think that would be a great addition.
Oh, yeah, that's what I said. I said he would do great as a member of the Hurt Syndicate, as would Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. I think both of them would be great additions to the Hurt Syndicate. More so, I feel like Bowens more so than Caster, but Max Caster, he's also driving me nuts, and I'd love to smack him across the face because he's saying he's the best wrestler. No, you're not. I can name 2 other people that are better than you. And
you know it. And Riley asked, did we hear Ospreay call Buddy Murphy last night? Yeah, I heard it. And I didn't hear Tony Khan went off on him, but shit. I mean, every time Jim Ross gets on TV, he still calls Daniel Bryan. He still does. Yeah. He still does it on his podcast. If you ever listen to Jim Ross' podcast, he's talking about Danielson. It's Daniel Bryan this, Daniel Bryan that. So, and Ross has done that on not just with Bryan, but there's been a few of the WWE guys that Cesaro called Cesaro one night, and I'd have to go back, but I know I've heard Ross make that mistake and actually had to come back from something else, like on Dynamite when he was still calling Dynamite, and have to come back from commercial, and he'd apologize for it. So I'm sure somebody got in his headset and, hey man, wrong company.
Yeah, he said, welcome to WWE Dynamite, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But Jim Ross is older. I mean, he's not uncompetent like he used to be, but I'll always like Jim Ross. He's done a lot for the business, and I always like anytime I go to a convention or something, I always like to meet him, at least do something with him, maybe get a picture signed or take a picture with him, or just talk to him. I've always liked Jim Ross. Yeah, I'll always respect him, but I don't know if I'm curious to see if I wonder if Tony Khan did that to Jim Ross, like go off, like even if that's true, that TK went off on Ospreay for calling Buddy Matthews Buddy Murphy. That Buddy Murphy is his WWE name. Uh, I don't know. I mean, Tony.
Him and Ospreay had a good match last night. Now, from what I've read here today, the main reason for Ospreay's promo after the match was Malachi Black is gone or on his way out the door. So we'll see what they do with the rest of the House of Black. You talk about Jim Ross and Excalibur. I tell you who I was so excited to see Tony Schiavone come back because I grew up with Tony Schiavone, in the 80s.
I did too.
And I was so happy to see him back. And he, if you go back and watch the first episode of Dynamite, alongside Excalibur and Jim Ross, he did a pretty good job. And I don't know if he just don't care anymore or what the case may be, but there's some of the shit that comes out of his mouth. Like there'll be a match going on and they'll have a move happen. And instead of, talking about the match, talking about the move, I love our roster. I love AEW. It's like, are you getting some extra zeros for this, or you just forget?
Yeah,
I remember one time.
Or did you just forget how to do this?
Look, I remember someone did something. And he said that's a great AEW moment in the archive of AEW Dynamite. Like every single damn time, keep saying that. Okay, we get it. You don't have to keep saying it. You don't have to say that. Like he says the same stuff over and over and over and over. He's not talking about what actually just happened. All right.
Yeah. And if you go back and watch it, I don't know why he was there last night, but I don't even know what his deal is. But Ian Riccaboni does a good job. I mean, I don't know where Tony was last night, but I'm not a big fan of Matt Menard on commentary, but it was like the Motley Crew of commentary last night with, Ian Riccaboni, Excalibur, and Matt Menard. It's like, okay, well, where's Tony and Nigel? Where's Taz? Yeah. They said Taz was able to come back now. But again, Ian Riccaboni does a good job, and the crowd might, the audience might shit on it for the first few weeks, but if they actually sit down and listen to him, they would enjoy. He tells a story instead of screaming, tope suicida every flipping 10 seconds. And I mean, and it's like he'll be right in the middle of talking about somebody, and like a move will happen, and instead of like cutting off what he's saying, he screams the guy's name he's talking about who's not even in the damn ring. And it's just like, why? I know he's friends with the Young Bucks. I know he's friends with Kenny. A lot of those people, Excalibur included, for people may know this, people might not. But a lot of that's, like even the referees came from PWG, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla. And those guys were, they were smart. Everybody's like, they should expand. They should expand. They were smart enough to know that what they were doing worked in that particular area, that it would not work nationwide. And, Tony wants to be, whether it's New Japan, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, ECW, CZW, pick something.
Looking for sickos.
Pick something and go with it. But like I said, he's just, I don't know. It's like Ospreay is so over. He is so good in the ring. I don't like everything he does, but I mean, he always gets a good pop when he comes out. And it's like, how bad are you trying to ruin people? I mean, Ospreay's took like 5 losses in his last 8 matches. And it's just like, I mean, I get you're a big Japanese fan and you love Okada, and that's why you brought these people over. But did you really need to put Okada over Ospreay and then have Okada stand there and look like that Will is just going to open his mouth and swallow? Is that really what we needed to do with Will Ospreay?
Well, and Ospreay and Okada in the finals, great. I kind of saw that coming, but Okada just stands there. He's almost like Long Duck Dong trying to hit on Samantha. I don't know if it's
Long Duck, but it looked like Will was about to find out.
And 16 candles. And it's just like Okada just like is a decoration in the middle of the ring. That's what he is. He doesn't really serve a purpose. Now, with the Backyard Beauty Queens, wherever backyard they decided to go back to, thank God, he's lost a lot of his, I don't even want to say mojo, not that he ever had it, but he basically came over, became their flunky, they're gone, and he's lower, but yet Tony Khan's elevating him. Like, what was the point of not having you could have had Ospreay win that? What was the point of Okada? what is this going to do for Okada? Because he's boring.
That whole championship like the entire like the only time that title means anything is when they do this Continental Classic. Besides that, like that entire Continental Championship serves no purpose.
Well, I'm glad you said that because you kind of segmented into what I was going to say is like you can do the tournament if you want. I mean, you know, maybe do some more research on the G1 to try to make it a little more entertaining and, you know, make it mean something and get people interested in it. But make it a cup, make it a medal, make it something, you know, like the Royal Rumble where you can announce, you know, the 2025 Continental Classic winner, you know, whatever. But like Connor said, you don't need a belt for it.
Right.
Like they don't do nothing with it. I mean, Okada's defended the belt 5 times and he's held it for almost 300 days. I mean, 5 defenses in 300 days. Golly, he didn't do shit with it. And there's never any feuds with it. It's just matches. Like at Full Gear was like a 5-way or something. It wasn't even a story. Like I don't think they've had one story with that entire title. And Okada's good in the ring, but he doesn't have a personality. He doesn't have a character.
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't have a persona. He doesn't have anything besides in ring, which, you know, that's fine. I mean, you got to have good matches as long as storytelling. But if you're going to be, I swear Tony's going to put the world title on him eventually. Okada will be an AEW world champion. But
God.
I feel like if you're going to be a world champion, you got to be able to talk. Like you're the face of the company. Like you got to be able to talk. I mean, at least Moxley can talk. I hate this Death Rider story. I wish it was over, but
well, you know what you're about to get with that, don't you? We're gonna get Beth Phoenix because you know your girlfriend keeps messing with Edge. So we're you know she was backstage. I think they said last week or the week before.
Yeah,
you know,
I think so.
She's done smacked him once. Then this week she grabbed his leg to, you know, get the attention of the rest of them. You know, that was actually the big go back for it. I don't know if it was the biggest pop, but one of the biggest pops of the pay-per-view was Jay White giving her his finish.
Yeah, because nobody wants to see her. I mean, they should have left her where was the pay-per-view at? Orlando? They should have left her. They should have left her in Orlando and just leave her there. She doesn't do good with the story. She sucks. She can't talk. Can't wrestle. She wants to be Ronda Rousey. And nobody's ever going to be Ronda Rousey. But you can't copy someone else. Like her entire character is based off of Ronda Rousey, basically. She wants to be the MMA fighter and be a wrestler, but that doesn't always work with everybody. I mean, I always thought that they should have had her with Serena Deeb and have Serena Deeb work with her and transition her style into something different. Because
I told you, I don't know how long they've been married, but if you're married to Roderick Strong and you still can't wrestle, I'd just give up.
Yeah,
I mean, she was with WWE. Dusty Rhodes was over the Performance Center. She was trained by him. That didn't work. I mean, Triple H was there. There's all kinds of good coaches. I mean, Norman Smiley's there. I mean, if you can't make it at the Performance Center and you're golly.
Well, look at it on the bright side. With her being with those guys, at least we're not listening to a 15-minute promo about her being a problem.
Like this whole storyline, like the way they portray her is protecting her a whole lot. Because if she had to go in the microphone and cut a promo on Edge or anybody, that'd be the end for that whole thing with her in it.
And I want to take a break here for just a second and explain something to people if they don't like what we're saying. WWE stands for World Wrestling Entertainment. Go back and listen to Triple H's, you know, words at the end of at the post conference of the Netflix show. We don't hide what we do. We're this, we're that. You know, you go back to when Vince come out and said, we're not going to, you know, we're not going to insult the intelligence of the audience anymore. We're entertainment. This is what we do. AEW comes out in their slogan, you know, again, are you going to be WCW or We Wrestle or where the big boys play? They pride themselves on having these good matches, and there's some in there. Don't get me wrong. There's some in there. But, you know, he's brought all these people over from Japan. Jay White is finally starting to get a push. You know, Okada is not getting over with the audience. You know, you've fumbled the ball, in my opinion. That's just what it is. It's my opinion. But with Ospreay, you know, you've got all these different people out there that could have done something. And you keep signing these former WWE guys, and some of them are good for business. I think the Hurt Syndicate was going to wind up being good for business as long as they have a say in their storyline. But they've made Shelton Benjamin more relevant than he was in the WWE the last 5 years that he was there. Because as soon as the Hurt business broke up, Shelton became a jobber, and I like Shelton, but Shelton Benjamin can probably take 3/4 of the WWE roster still at his age. I mean, the guy's in phenomenal shape. He can wrestle. So I'm happy for that. But you bring in these guys and girls that have names, but you don't use them to put some of this younger talent over to get them over with the audience. You want to put somebody like Okada over. Why? I mean, he's not over with the crowd. And I know I get you respect what he did in Japan. He's not the same guy. And, you go back in the annals of history. One of the reasons the Great Muta, actually, there was 2 reasons the Great Muta got over so much. But Great Muta did not come by himself. He came with Gary Hart, who was one of the, if you don't know who Gary Hart is, go back and look him up. I put him right there on par with Bobby Heenan, Jim Cornette, Paulie Dangerously, just Paul Heyman, whatever the hell you want to call him. Gary Hart just never got the national exposure that some of those guys did. Gary Hart cut a hell of a promo. He never raised his voice. And, he went from managing the Great Kabuki. That's okay. He went in from managing the Great Kabuki to bringing in Muta, who they billed as the son of Kabuki at the time, which, they dropped that pretty quickly, just like they did saying Paul White was Andre's son that last 2 weeks. But, yes, Muta was amazing in the ring. Him and Sting had phenomenal matches back in the day. Muta had great matches with Flair. Everybody that Muta stepped in the ring with, he either kept up with or he made them look phenomenal. But without Gary Hart, Muta would have not gotten over with the American audience.
Oh, absolutely. And there was just something about Gary Hart that made you want to watch him. And the same thing with Muta. And Muta had that green stuff that he'd spit at opponents or whatever. But there was just something that was, I don't want to use the word alluring, but there was just something about Muta that he had that you had to look to find it, but he had it. Okada could be a customer at my store and I wouldn't even know. And I'll get to the side note what I just found out about a week ago, but relating to pro wrestling. But yeah, Okada just like he comes out to the ring. That's roughly it. And you're right, Connor. He's got no personality. He doesn't know how to talk. I mean, there's nothing special about Okada. And was he worth all that money?
No.
And Riley is Gary Hart. Like, have a heart.
Gary Hart. I mean, I guess if he was a heel, then the fans would call him Gary Fart. If he was a heel, I guess that's what the fans would chant. I guess.
No, I don't remember them chanting that. They possibly could, but the main ones I remember was Weasel getting chanted at Bobby Heenan and stuff like that. But like I said, Gary Hart never got that mainstream exposure like Bobby Heenan, Jimmy Hart, some of the other guys did. But he was, without him, I don't think Muta would have done half of what he did in the States. So, just something to go back and look. And Muta standing there, he would look ominous with his headdress on over top, and you can see the pain of the eyes behind it. And then Gary Hart just telling you what Muta was going to do, and most of the time he went out and did it. So, and it's like I'm not trying to disrespect Okada. It's just you got to understand that the American audience, it's actually come a long way because I mean you've got people like Drew and Sheamus and some of the other guys that's gotten over at being from a foreign country. Gunther, you wouldn't have seen Gunther as world champion 30 years ago. You might have seen him as intercontinental champion, U.S. champion, wherever he may have been, but the world title would not have been put on him. So, and no, Harry, that's what we're talking about. Good matches, just good matches can carry you a long way, but they're not enough. And especially when the matches are advertised to be good and they fall way short.
Well, and here's where I want to just kind of, ask the question and drop it in the chat for this one. But, guys, we've been talking about Okada and, the fact that, Tony Khan sends all these Japanese wrestlers and it's like they just like show up with no like I can't talk, vignette or whatever. Jason, what's what I'm looking for?
Vignette.
Vignette, thank you. They just show up, and if they do one, that's it. But for American fans, we have to go on YouTube to find these guys. Like we have to go on YouTube or watch NJPW, which I know doesn't air anywhere in Wisconsin. I don't think it's even in a Chicago market, to be honest with you. But we have to go look for these guys. So then when they come over here, we're just like, okay, who the hell are you? But now you talk about character development. And, we've had this discussion too about Dallas. I'm still watching it on Prime. I'm on season 10. And when you think about the character of Sue Ellen Ewing, who initially started as a background character, then they developed her into her own character. Think about the character development that Tony Khan could be doing with his current roster right now. Think about how he could be developing him, and if he developed Okada, did the vignette for Okada and did them for a couple weeks, then debuted him and built him up as a character, would he be more credible and worth watching?
Well, it also goes back to why I said go back and watch the first Dynamite, because again, the indie audience and some of the people already knew who Sammy Guevara was, but the majority of the people watching did not.
I didn't.
And they did a very good job of explaining to you and letting Sammy tell you and showing him training some and running and letting him tell you who he was before they brought him out. They let Cody come out. Cody did his entrance with Brandy. And then they cut to this, 3-4 minute vignette of Sammy Guevara before he made his entrance. So the crowd in the building and the crowd watching at home on TV, they might not have known everything about Sammy Guevara, but him coming out, they knew who, they had a little backstory on who he was and who Cody was about to wrestle, instead of thinking Cody was just getting ready to do a squash match. They did a very good job of it. And it's like, what happened? Where did it go?
If you watch interviews from Tony from 2019, 2022, and watch his interviews from now, completely different person. Like some of the things that he said that AEW would never do, he's already went back on. He said that one of the main reasons WCW went out of business was because they signed everybody. He's done the exact same thing. And just go back and watch his Chris Van Vliet interview, the one he had in 2019, and watch his press conference videos. Two different people. He back then he talked like he knew something, like he had like a boss. He had like, he knew some stuff about wrestling and how to book wrestling. Nowadays, the only thing that he can book is kind of like what Bully Ray said. He's a good matchmaker, but as a booker, he's not a good booker. He's a matchmaker. And American TV, doesn't always work. Some matches are good. I mean, they might attract 400, 500,000 people, 2,000 people to a show, but you got to have storytelling. You got to have character development. You got to have investing characters to get into. Like WWE only got on because the Bloodline story. It was an investing story that people could get behind. Like I swear, like I was watching JD from New York last night, and Jesse on his show, he basically said you could take AEW's whole roster and put them on WWE and put WWE's roster on AEW, and WWE would still do better because they have storytelling. And they're more consistent. Like AEW storytelling, like they'll start on something 1 week, and then you'll go 3 or 4 weeks without seeing it.
Well, I mean, we've seen that firsthand already. I mean, Pillman Jr., Ethan Page, Jade Cargill. I mean, none of us are thrilled with Jade Cargill's in-ring skills, but by putting her with Bianca, they protect her. And before she ever stepped foot in a ring, they, 2 months worth of her being backstage. I mean, they brought her across as a huge star, and the only place she'd ever been is AEW. So that's them in their own way putting AEW over, because they're bringing this girl in, and people are going to look, if they didn't know anything or watch AEW, they will, where's she come from? Why are they making such a big deal out of her? Oh, she was undefeated here until she left. I mean, so they've already shown what they can do with. I mean, Ethan Page did nothing in AEW.
No.
Brian Pillman was made to look like an idiot in AEW. So I mean, they've already shown that they can do that. And again, I want to make sure that I'm coming across clear because we've had some negative comments on some of these shows, and it's like when you're looking at the two, you don't have to watch two. Like I was not a big fan of the WWF when I was a kid. The NWA was my thing. They wrestled. You had wars in the ring, opposed to clowns coming out and opposed to segments of Andre the Giant in a damn bulldozer because he couldn't find a car that was big enough for him. You had people out there dancing, and as a kid I hated it. I hated it. And so I get it. But again, when you're trying to compare the two, it's an alternative. It's not competition, and that is not a knock. But when you're going to advertise that we're the best wrestle, then damn it, prove it. You know? I mean, stop sticking these damn matches out there. And I don't blame Edge for going. And I'll tell you why. He's talked about it. He had both contracts in his inbox, deciding which one to sign. And he basically said the WWF told him they didn't see him with WWE. He wanted to start being on TV again every week. They wanted to use him as an attraction. And he wanted to end his career with a full-time schedule, whether that be 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, whatever it comes out to. Whenever Adam Copeland's ready to hang it up, he wanted to be full-time for his last run, and they did not see him, in that role. So I if I was Tony Khan and Edge is like, yeah, I'll come. Oh, hell yeah, bring your ass over here. Help me get some of these guys over. And I'm not asking you to lose every match you go in the ring for, but help me get some of these guys over. Help me get some of these guys on track. Girls, maybe your wife can come in as a trainer, help somebody, because Beth Phoenix was good in the ring too. I mean,
she was.
She got a good promo. It's like, so I don't blame Edge for going, but you've got these people, but then like I said, his promo. If you watch last night, his promo just fell flat. And, I don't see Edge winning the world title for Moxley. I don't see any of these people, MJF included. I think where this is going, they're going to have the Death Riders do what they're doing. You're going to have this little Don Callis feud with Omega and Ospreay. And that somehow, some way, and Danny's dreams are going to come true. The Young Bucks will be back. You're going to see the reformation of the Elite to take on the Death Riders because they want to defend the company they helped start. I think that's where the end game is. And I'm okay with that. Just give me something worth watching while we're going there.
Yeah,
they got to make it make sense too, because they can't just have the Young Bucks show up and then that's it. Like they're back together all of a sudden because Young Bucks attacked Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks attacked Tony Khan. So if they're gonna get back together, they got to have some kind of story to get them back together. You can't just one night all of a sudden Young Bucks are back and you're back together. You can't do it.
No, I think what you'll see is, once Omega goes through what he's whatever story he's going through with Callis and the Death Riders, you'll hear Omega mention the world title, and then you're going to see kind of what you saw last night with take out the Don Callis family, insert the Death Riders, and you'll see Omega. I don't think it'll happen the first time, but you'll see Omega get beat up 2 or 3 times, and then you'll probably see the Young Bucks and Hangnail Page come out there and make the save.
Yeah, I could kind of see that happening because what else would you do with the Death Riders, and who else would you have that would make logical sense to go up against the Death Riders if they're trying to take apart AEW? But then you return these 2 guys that nobody liked as faces, especially me. Nobody liked them as heels. Their EVP gimmick that, oh, we're better than you, just kind of went like, oh, okay. And then where does Glass Boy Jack Perry fit into all this?
Well, he hadn't been seen on TV since he lost his title.
Since Danny Garcia embarrassed him. Thank God that happened. But still, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like, what else would they have to do? But then, the Bucks are back. Oh, great. Now they're faces. Oh, we're supposed to care. I mean, they could play a heel. I wouldn't like them. They could play a face. I wouldn't like them. But it's logic.
They got to make that make sense. Because I could see them doing it. Like, out of nowhere, they're back together with no explanation, no backstory of the story, no story to get them back together. It's just going to be it'll be random. and they're gonna erase Young Bucks attacking Kenny Omega like it never
Right.
happened. Probably
Well, and that's the thing. It's like it's not that I've never liked the Bucks. They've never given me anything to get invested in. Nothing they have ever done is, in my opinion, has come of it's nothing of substance. Everybody raved over that cage match that they had with the Lucha Brothers. It was an entertaining match. It was not a wrestling match. It was a spot fest. And if you like that, God bless you. Watch it all day long. Just don't sit here and tell me it's a wrestling match.
Mhm.
They went out there. There was a lot of different spots, a lot of false finishes. And again, then you got Okada coming up and beating somebody with the shittiest short arm clothesline you'll ever see in your life. But
Uh-huh.
it was a spot fest. And like I say, it was entertaining. It was not a wrestling match. Know the difference. And
Yeah.
if that's what you like, that's what you like. I've compared it to, DC and Marvel, similar, but you can like one, you can watch this. This is where the tribalists drive me crazy. You can watch one, like one better than the other. You don't see people online arguing, oh my God, Batman is so much better than Spider-Man. You might see somebody going, well, yeah, I like both of them, but I like this one better. And again, it's why I preach it all the time to just people understand that AEW and WWE are different. It's an alternative, and the WWE comes out and says we are entertainment. So if you're going to watch a 3-hour show, you're going to get a lot of promos. You're going to get a lot of ads pushing this, that, and the other. But they're making billions of dollars, and then the ratings come out finally. They did some kind of crap to where they figured out what it was. It was like 1.9 million people in the U.S. watching Raw, and then rest of it plugged in. It was like 4.9 million worldwide was watching Raw Monday night. And that's what it was intended to do. It was intended to go worldwide. And you can laugh about that number all you want to because it was worldwide, but it was the number one show on Netflix. So guess who's happy? All those Netflix executives. And if you're starting at 4.9, it might go the other way, but it's probably going to continue to grow. Once people start, because you see how full and how electric those arenas are overseas. Those people are, they're clamoring for that product to get something. And again, that's why I praised AEW for going over to Wembley, because Wembley hadn't had a big wrestling match in years. And those people, they didn't give a damn. The card wasn't even announced. They didn't care. They just wanted a wrestling match at Wembley Stadium. 80,000 tickets one year, 50 some thousand the next.
Mhm.
Yeah, the attendance wasn't what it was the first year, but you still drew over 50,000 people, which is, again, I'm hoping for the best. I hope they can put a lot of people in this stadium in Texas. What is it, July? I think so. We've still got 6 months to go. But
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, they had a similar situation. I mean, they very well could move arenas if it does bad, because they did that for Australia. They were going to be doing a kind of like Wembley or in Texas, like a big stadium, but they sold so bad that they had to move it to a arena and out of a stadium. They sold like 13,000, and it was like a 50,000 seat stadium. It's coming up in next month, and there's zero.
That doesn't mean a whole lot either, people. You got to understand too that WrestleMania 7, Vince wanted to break that WrestleMania 3 record of 93,000, whatever the hell it was. And whatever place he had booked for WrestleMania 7 held 100,000 people. It was a college football stadium.
Mhm.
And the ticket sales were so bad, they had to move it to an 18,000 seat arena. It happens. So it's not just, going, oh, AEW can't do it. It's happened to them too. And it could happen again. You don't know. You don't know what could happen in the future. They've been hot for, a few years now. And, and a lot of people seem to have jumped back on their fan base since Vince McMahon's been gone.
Mhm.
But is it sustainable? And I mean, maybe that's what the Netflix deal is. So, those people overseas that haven't been, been able to get the product for all these years, that they're worried about that sustainability here in the US because it's been going hot for so long. So let's venture out a little bit and make sure we still got, if we can't sell out of, WrestleMania, if we can't sell out of WrestleMania in the States, we'll take it to Wembley. We'll take it to, we'll take it to Japan. We'll take it to somewhere that, it's going to sell out. So, like it's happened before, it could happen again.
Yeah.
Danny, you look confused.
No, I'm just thinking.
Thinking.
Yeah. And no, and absolutely. And I mean, it if he wants, Tony Khan wants to sell seats, give us a reason to want to spend the money on tickets. We still haven't decided if we're going to go to all in. We're thinking about it, but Wisconsin to Texas, that's going to be quite a drive and it's going to be expensive. We were looking at going to SmackDown on April 4th in Chicago, but the cheapest seats we found are like 90, I think 95 a piece. We had paid less for AEW tickets and had floor seating. So we're kind of discussing it. We might go, we might not go. But again, if he wants to fill that arena, give us a storyline that we can get behind, but develop your characters. And again, look at your characters, look at their strengths, look at their weaknesses, build upon your strengths. Then you're going to have people actually caring about your product, because two guys that are 5'10" and about 190 each to take on Death Riders, that's not going to help. A guy who, like, you've got Hobbs, Archer, Wardlow. I mean, your bigger guys, book them properly. Give us, something that we want to see, instead of, okay, this thing with like when, for example, when Taz got attacked, Hook said, okay, I'm going to find out who did it. What happened to that? We don't know. Nothing happened because they haven't really moved forward with it.
Oh no, that's the whole Christian feud.
Yeah.
Christian did it. Christian attacked Taz. That was the whole bag. That I will give him that. That was a backstage thing of
Yeah.
Christian having his goons hold Hook and telling Hook that, your dad saw my face. There was a reason he didn't tell you who did it, because he knows what I'm going to do to you. So, but you talk about ticket prices, and I take everything with a grain of salt you see on the internet. But from what I read something the other day that said that like the cheapest ticket prices for this past Monday's debut on Netflix in California was right at $400. And I'll be damned if I'm paying $400 for a ticket to go see anything.
Absolutely.
That's just me. I'd rather sit at home on my couch and watch it on my TV.
No, that's what we were, and again, we were thinking about going, it's Friday, April 4th. So it's a couple weeks before Easter. And it's, I think, 2 weeks. I had to look, I believe it's like 2 weeks before Mania. So again, we looked at ticket prices and we were looking for section 2, the 200 section, all the way towards the top of the section. That was like going for 95 to 100. The lower section in the 2s was going for $3.
And that's not even counting like fees and transaction fees and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Now we had decent seats for Sting's last match at the Greensboro Coliseum. I think those 6 tickets, 7 tickets was like a little bit over $200 for everything I spent. And then, I mean, they weren't great seats, but they weren't bad either. So, I mean, we could see everything going on. And real quick, Molly is watching us from Cuba. Hello, Molly, and thank you for joining us. We appreciate you tonight.
Yeah, we've had Molly come in and out, the Elite Zone and worldwide. We definitely appreciate you watching. She's been an active listener for a while now. We definitely appreciate you.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened over the holidays, and some good, some bad. And again, I just, like I said, if you watch it, if you have not seen World's End, go catch it, because maybe you'll see what I'm talking about. Maybe you won't. But like I said, Ospreay and Fletcher started it off. It was the best match of the night, and Ospreay was the only babyface that won all night long. And you'll see how dead the crowd was for the main event. No, the only pop that main event got was when Jay White gave his finish to Connor's girlfriend there. They popped real big for that one. So,
I haven't ordered an AEW pay-per-view since like All In of this year, and I'll just see the results and stuff like that. Like I'll watch like the highlights or whatever to know what I'm talking about on here.
Well, most of the time whether I'm like really excited to see the pay-per-view or not, they always have at least one match that I want to see. So it's like, damn it. All right, I'm going to buy this one too. But and again, to be able to somebody come on here, oh, you didn't even watch it. And, my bank account says I did. Kiss my ass. You know, so yeah. But there's like I saw the finish, the Mercedes Monet match. I think I got up and went outside and scratched my ass for 20 minutes or came back in long enough to see the finish. And like I said, she rolls her up like a baby face. It's like, okay, there was a reason I went out for that. But I don't know. I've always got high hopes for him. It's like all Tony needs to do is go back and watch some of his earlier stuff and see what the buzz was all about, as people say, and then watch, some of his later shows from the last 6, 8, 12 months and understand why people are all over. Like I said, if you're going to come out and, you try to dog WWE and this, that, and the other, and, I'm sure that some people will say that the Punk Rollins match wasn't that good. Well, you know what? If that's what you want to say, then you don't know any damn thing about professional wrestling. There was a story there, and they both had a hell of a match, and you even saw it. It's not over with yet. Now, I will say I was surprised that Rollins laid down clean. There wasn't some kind of screwy finish, but it's still not over yet. That one surprised me a little bit. And Riley said AEW needs to do better with storytelling. That's kind of where we've been talking about since this show started. Was we actually brought Dallas into it about how Dallas was weekly episodic television, and it was always a cliffhanger. Kind of like shit. If you watch soap operas, soap operas are on 5 days a week, but they leave you with a cliffhanger every day. So you want to tune in. You want to tune in. You watch Monday, and like to the very end of the show, they leave you with something. You got the one that hooks you back into Tuesday. And, on Friday, they leave you with something where you're thinking about it. If you really like the show, you're wondering what's going to happen on Monday. To follow up with what they're doing. And it's been said for a long time that and a lot more women now get into wrestling than they used to. But wrestling used to be called the male soap opera.
Yeah, it was.
And South Dakota, we got another one from all over it. We're getting them from all over. I like it, Connor. I like it. We're getting the reach. But
we got someone from Seattle. Let me find it. Yeah, here it is. Barry, Seattle.
The captain. And the worst kept secret in wrestling for the past few months. You can check out Raw this coming Monday to see the debut of Pentagon Jr. to go out there and watch Chad Gable lay down for him because he wanted to fight the best luchador in the world. I'm not sure how much time Ray Phoenix has left on his contract. I think they said they added a year to it. So, well, it might be 10, 11 months before we get to see the Lucha Brothers in tag team action. But, we'll see where it goes. We're coming up a little bit over the hour now. Danny, any final thoughts?
No. I had to stop and really think about. I'm getting back into my New Year's thing. So the last couple of years I've gone through this where I've just had to physically, from the holidays adjust to the New Year's. It doesn't help that I was also off for 10 days. So I hadn't worked since the 27th, went back to work on Tuesday. So let me tell you, that wasn't easy to get up on Tuesday.
Well, yeah, with the Christmas break, I think I told you my fiance's a school teacher, and she was out for the holidays, and then the last few days she finally went back to work yesterday because of the snow days.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's not that I want you to leave the house, but at least it won't seem like Sunday like it has for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
With her being in there every day. Riley checking in from Austin. Riley, you going to go to All In, Texas?
I see why your profile picture is Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, hell yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, Connor, you got any final thoughts before we head out of here?
Well, we'll be back for SmackDown tomorrow. And the Wild World of Wrestling. Then we should be back for the pod champs Saturday if I don't get snowed in and our internet goes out. There's a good possibility that might happen. But we should be good for SmackDown. But the pod champs, we'll have to wait and see. But I do plan on making an interview announcement pretty soon. The first one of the new year. I want to have it around AEW's Grand Slam Australia, whatever it is. At least by the end of the month or going into the new year. I'd like to do it then. But there's going to be an interview announcement pretty soon. But besides that, thank you all for watching. We got another comment. Have you ever seen her blood spot matches? Bloodsport matches.
Are we talking about Marina Shafir? Or are we talking about Bald and Sasha?
I don't think Sasha's competed at a Bloodsport match. It would have had to have been Marina Shafir. I've seen some of those matches, like those are her style. That's what she tries to do. But on TV, it just doesn't.
Well, you said earlier that she was trying to be Ronda Rousey, and I don't think she's trying to be Ronda Rousey. She is Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey's kind of.
Well, that's what I was getting to. She can legit fight. She what I forgot what all they said she knows, but she's not entertaining at all. And Ronda Rousey was not good on the microphone either. I mean, now she wasn't as bad as Shafir, but she was not great on the microphone.
Ronda Rousey was like being in a formal dress when you're so uncomfortable because you're used to wearing jeans.
Yeah. Well, like so I was excited for her to come in, and she just never got any better.
Right. Like it's almost like she just didn't look right to me, Rousey, in a WWE ring. She also didn't sound right on a microphone.
And on that note, we will be back next week with we're going to be talking about wrestling announcers next week, from Gordon Soley to Lance Russell to Jim Ross to David Crockett, Bob Caudle, Tony Schiavone, even Eric Bischoff when he was on commentary. Mike Tenay,
Bob Caudle,
Mike Tenay, Taz, JBL, you name it. We're going to be talking about the importance of the announcers and why Excalibur sucks so bad, and compared to all those guys. So, tune in next week. And like I said, Connor should check us out, the Wild World of Wrestling. We're going to have some SmackDown reviews. We're going to be doing the Pod Champs on Saturday. And Connor, if I get snowed in, just let me know, and I'll jump on there and actually watch SmackDown with you guys this week. But until then, we're back next Thursday. And the panel, we're back. Happy holidays. Hope each and every one of you had a good one. We did. We took a 2-week break, but now we are back unfiltered as fucking ever, and we can't wait till next week. See ya.